Hi, welcome back to Danny Harris Arts. I'm gonna do a quick little project, a little DIY project today, and I think you'll like it. If you do trout, this will be especially useful to you. As some of you know, I make my own scale burning tips, and I use nichrome wire. And I'm not going to go on this today, but I've got a full video on how I did that you can check out. But I've struggled with making tiny scales like that you find on trout, and I finally messed around and got some made that work. This one is about a millimeter, maybe a little bit bigger, but it works, and I'm going to make some more of them. But there's another technique that I've seen people use, and they'll use a tool like a ratchet or some other tool that has a knurled handle on it, and they'll use that knurling to roll onto the wood, and it leaves that knurled impression on the wood, and it simulates scales, and that's fine, and it works. But I'm a little OCD, and I want a scale shape, not a little diamond shape. So that's the reason for this tiny little burning scale, because it's scale shaped. But there's other tools that I've seen. I saw a picture of one that somebody had made, and they had copied it from Bob Berry. Now, if you know who Bob Berry is, Bob is a world-renowned master fish carver. He's won multiple world titles, and he's done some innovative things in fish carving. But he made some rolling tools out of big giant spikes. Now I showed you these a couple videos ago, a couple months back, and said that I had a special project, so this is the special project. I'm going to show you how to turn these into a tool to roll scales on that are actually scale shaped. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and get started and show you how to do that. Okay, so y'all excuse the mess here. I'm still working on my bass project and working on crawfish, so check that video out. But okay, so what I've got here is these giant spikes, nails if you will, and they've got a pretty thick head on them. And what I'm doing is, let me get this up here close where you can see it. You see the little tiny scalloped edges on that? Got one here on the big one. What you do is you take these, and we'll say this is the fish body. I don't know if this is going to show up on camera, but you roll them on, and it leaves that impression of scales. Let me do a few of them where you can see it. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera. I hope it does. Turn this light off. Maybe it'll show up better with a little more contrast here. Yeah, you can see that a little bit better. So what I'm doing is I'm just lining it up so they overlap right. And it leaves them, well, I didn't line that one just perfectly, but you get the idea. It leaves the impression of the scale in the wood. And that's all you need is a little on the trout, is because the scales are real fine and real thin, so there's not a real high edge, lifted edge on a trout on the scale. So let me do this smaller one here. So I'm going to do several in different sizes. And I'm just rolling it on. See that? But it gives a nice impression of the scales, and I think once it's sanded a little bit and get used to. I'm gonna have to practice with it before I actually start on the body of a fish, because you want to be able to line up the little scales so they are overlapping right, shingled, so to speak. But you get the idea. I'll do some more here in a minute, but I'll show you how I make these now. I take one that's a blank here. Here's one that hadn't been carved yet. And I've got these round, perfectly rounded edge diamond bits. I think I bought this set at Harbor Freight. They're relatively inexpensive, and they're for being cheap, they last a long time. So and you could probably go on and mark, if you want to mark the edges to get it exact. I didn't do that. I just got on here and just started carving the grooves in, and I did these yesterday just to see how it was going to work, and I like it, so I'm going to do these. And I'll also put once I get them done, I'll cut them off and I'll put a handle on them so you got a little bit better grip. So I'll do that on another. I mean, you can figure out how to do that. Just drill a hole and cut the nail off and epoxy it in. So but that gives you the idea what I'm going to do. So here's how I do it. I take this rounded diamond bit here, and I just start. Get up here where you can see a little better. And I just start cutting these little scalloped edges in it. You want to do them towards the top, just right on the edge, and then just start making my way around. And it leaves a little rough edge on it. So I'll just take top of it, just kind of take some little bird edges off of it. And the reason you don't have to worry about if they're spaced perfectly or not is because you're not going to be doing all the way down. So I think how it's going to work is you're going to do it just like an inch or so at a time. And all you have to do is realign it so that they're overlapping right. I couldn't burn that many scales that fast. So I think what I'm going to do also is I'll either use a Sharpie or a magic marker or something, or a paint or something, and I'll make me a little register mark there so I'll know where to start the next line. So look, if I start right there on that one, I know I need to start in the middle of the other one, so that they're lined right. So let me do one of the small ones now. I've got some made already, so you can kind of see, but I've also got some smaller. Let me show you these bits here. I've got like 4 different size bits that are a little bit smaller radius on there. So I'm going to change out the bits. My idea was to use the bigger bit for making bigger scales, and then I'll have 3 consecutive smaller ones to do consecutive smaller scales. Does that make sense? I hope. So I'll take one of the smaller ones here. And I'll just start on the edge. Might want to wear gloves because that gets hot. Let me smooth this, and you can do this with a file too. Just kind of smooth off the edges. Take them, it creates little burrs. See how this one does, and you have to figure out the right angle to hold it. I've learned that holding it at a kind of a steeper angle or shallower angle makes it imprint right. Well, that one's doing good. If you hold it too steep, let me do this other one here. If you hold it too steep, it just pokes little triangles in it. And if you hold it too shallow, of course you don't get the imprint. So you gotta figure out just the right angle, and that's why you want to practice on a piece of scrap before you start doing it. And then once you get that angle down, you can do it the same every time. And I think I'll be able to do that even on tiny fish. I did some burning on this one yesterday on the this is going to be a shad, but with my tiny burning scale tip, and it's working pretty good. So all right, that's going to be it for this quick little project. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I've got 4 different sizes here that have smaller scale tips on it, and 2 bigger ones here that have bigger scale tips on it. And I'm going to experiment on this one, I think, and put the smaller size impressions on this one to see if the bigger head has any benefit over the smaller ones and rolling them on. I don't think there will be, but they're both working fine. I'm also going to experiment with putting handles on them. The ones I saw had handles on them, but I feel like that I get pretty good control with just the nail in my hand, and this one fits my hand well. Of course, this bigger one I'm going to have to cut down, but again, it's big enough that I get good grip, and I feel like I can control it well enough without a handle. So again, there'll just be something I experiment with. But these are, I want to reiterate that this is not a invention of mine. This is something I saw on a Facebook page, wood carving page, a couple years ago, and the guy had given credit to Bob Berry that made them, and he had made him some, and he really liked them. And I know Bob Berry. I met him several years ago at the first World Taxidermy Fish Carving Championship I went to, and then last year he was one of the judges, and I was able to talk to him about these. And the technique of rolling scales on has been around for a long time with, using knurled handles, but Bob perfected it by making it actual scale shape versus the little diamond shape. But I asked him about making a video, if you mind if I would make a video, if I could make a video on my YouTube channel, and he gave me permission to do it, so here it is. I also want to remind you to check out my video on making the wood burning scale tips. And one quick thing about that is that I don't mention in that video because it hadn't happened yet, but Ed Walicki, who developed this technique, passed away years ago, and I was getting the wire from his website, fishcarver.com, but his family eventually shut the website down, so I don't have access to the wire anymore. He never did say what kind it was. He went through several brands until he found one that worked right, and but again, he never mentioned what it was because he was selling it on his website, so I understand why. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or comments about this process, you can leave them for me in the comment section below, and if you make some yourself, be sure to leave me comments on how they worked out for you. And if you're new to the channel, I really appreciate it if you consider subscribing, and be sure to hit that notification bell if you want to be notified of future projects, and give me a thumbs up if you like these videos. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next project.